Welcome into the Florence Barleycorns for tonight's Cooper football show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers and a slew of others tonight. We have a lot of special guests, including a state champion, the Cooper football team trying to become a team champion. We have an individual champion tonight that I'll be telling you about. We'll be talking to momentarily. But welcome into the Florence Barleycorns. Want to thank everybody for coming out tonight for tonight's show, the second season, week number 2. Scott County at Cooper Friday night as the Jaguars were tested Friday night by South Oldham 4 times during the game. It was a 7-point margin before Cooper put up 21 points in the final 7 minutes plus to win 56-28. I'm your host, Tom Gamble, and let's preview what we've got for you tonight. I'll talk to Randy momentarily about Friday night, look ahead a little bit to Scott County. Then I'll welcome in Issac Brown and his son Paul, the state champion. Fastest time in any division in the state at the recent cross-country championships, winning the state championship. So congrats. We'll find out how they got it done. Cooper finishing 6th as a team, and all the runners are back next year. So that's a positive outlook there. Then I'll welcome up 4 members of the Cooper football team, quarterback Cam O'Hara and wide receiver Isaiah Johnson, the most prolific quarterback receiving duo in the history of football in Northern Kentucky. That's pretty impressive. And then defensively, Austin Alexander and Issac Brown, who sealed the victory with a little exclamation point with a 60-yard pick six to end the game. And then Randy back for the game kind of preview of Friday night. But let's go back to Friday night. South Oldham came in. It was one of only 3 matchups around the state of Kentucky where in the RPI, which is the rating formula used to qualify teams, it was 2 teams in the top 10. You were number 1 in 5A. They were ranked number 8, and they came in 7-3, and they proved to be a pretty formidable test. There were times, obviously, when you guys were only up by 7 before you finally put it away. Time of possession, they really dominated. A lot of that had to do with the fact that you scored quickly. But just give me your overall impressions. 56-28, second highest point total this year, 62 against Great Crossing. But how did you feel going into the game? How did you feel coming out of the game with that victory?
Well, anytime you come out of a game with a victory, especially in the playoffs, you feel pretty good. Going into the game, we talked a little bit last week about this being a game that kind of made us nervous. It's a good football team. Like you said, they were 7-3. Wilford's was 9-1 the regular season, and their lone loss was to South Oldham. So, South Oldham's kind of up and down. Pretty much the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, we figured they were going to be the 2 seed, and we would see them this week, and then they got upset, the last week of district play, so it knocked them down to a 4 seed. But, that's a really good football team. They do a lot of good things. Anytime you're playing an option team or a wing team like we're playing this week, it's a little different than what you're used to. So, they're going to hit some plays. They're going to make some plays, and they made some plays. But, when you look at us offensively especially, we were able to kind of control the ball. We only ran 37 offensive plays and put, 55 points up on the board. So we got to be happy about that.
56, you shorted yourself one. But when you talk about that offense, you had the same guys. Cam O'Hara, 316 yards on just 12 completions, 12 of 18, 4 touchdowns. Again, no interceptions. Jaden Combs with a big game, including a 94-yarder, which tied Isaiah Johnson from O'Hara last year in the Highlands game, longest in school history. You had Keegan Mayer doing it again, 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing, ran for almost 160 yards, caught a receiving TD. You got Austin Alexander back. He had 9 tackles, 2 sacks, caught a couple passes. And, of course, Isaiah Johnson, 4 reception, $127, and TDs again. And you got to be thrilled with the offense. Now, I'm going to be, you can ask yourself, any win is a good win in the playoffs, but we're trying to get championship-looking wins, right? So I'm going to bring up some things here that would concern me as a coach, and you can tell me, and maybe I should join the staff. Well, you got 1 more week to shore up the special teams, or I'm coming on the staff, because that could be an issue. Let's be honest. They returned, they returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Then you guys had a lengthy return that was called back by penalty. We'll talk about the officiating. I don't think they knew where they were, but that's a whole other story. But from there, and special teams, against teams as you advance out, you can't give them the ball between the 35 and 45-yard line on kickoff returns. There have been a couple gaffes this year. How do you shore that up? And when you watch the film, do you see anything on special teams that you've already discussed and tried to talk about with the guys?
Yeah, and one of the big things with us, especially on kickoff, it all starts with our kick. We're just kind of inconsistent right there, there right now. Obviously that's something we're working on. But, as you go a little further in the playoffs and as you get to this time, you start trying to shore up your special teams with some kids that you try to keep off because they're two-way starters or guys that you're giving some younger kids or some seniors some opportunities. But, it's that time of year you got to put your best 11 on there. So we made some changes there, and obviously it's something that, we realized, we spent a lot of time this weekend looking at our special teams, especially our kickoff, and, we've changed some stuff up, spent a little bit more time on it today, so it's obviously something we're going to work on because, Scott County, you look at them, they got some athletes, and they've broke some kickoffs for touchdowns this year, plus, they're a team you don't want to give them a short field because they're going to make you pay.
Well, and I'm looking at this as I'm sure you are and the other coaches are, you have to be playing state championship football. That's the goal. You're 11-0. First time Cooper's ever been 11-0. You made it to the state final last year. You want to take the next step this year. So you have to be extremely critical of any area that requires getting better in. And one, I want to get your opinion on. It seemed like they, from a at the line standpoint, maybe pushed you guys around a little bit in a game that you're not accustomed to. And I'm going to take you back. You look at those last 4 weeks. Running clock second quarter, running clock second quarter, running clock fourth quarter, bye. I mean, it had been 5 weeks, and maybe go back to the Highlands game since you had really faced some adverse conditions and a real challenge. I got to believe, but yet you got off to a 14-0 start. Did you feel like that crept in at any point during the game, just not being prepared to play a full game?
No, I mean, I think we got a veteran group of guys that just kind of come out and play. We had a couple penalties. We had them one time, I think, 3rd and long or 4th and long, and we got a pass interference that prolonged the drive, and then got a unsportsmanlike on that with a kid that was going for a ball and out of bounds, and might have jumped on him a second or two late. So, one drive they had 60 yards, a free yardage. Another drive we just got beat on a big play. They put them, so they scored another one. So you take those 2 plays away. It's 20, is it really that close of a ball game? So, we don't feel like we're far away. We obviously know we still got some things to work on. You do every week. But overall, we don't feel like we're far away from being great, but we got enough to work on that's going to keep us busy.
Pass interference call was a terrible call, by the way. I'm sure you maybe reacted to that a little bit on the sideline. But how good was it to be up 7 with just over 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter and really put the game away? And you've done that a couple times. You did that against Dixie where maybe the third quarter wasn't what you were looking for, but you came out and scored 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter. So that's a good sign, right? I mean, the responsiveness, you hear all the time, how do teams respond to adversity? And I would say, you've seen that a couple times this year with your football team. And it has to make you feel good. The offense is absurd. I mean, it really is. I think, and I know you're too close to the situation, but when you're watching it, you can't go to the concession stand or the restroom when Cooper has the football. You might miss a touchdown. I mean, it's been that productive. And again, you spread it around. You get all those guys involved, and you're a very difficult team to defend, which has got to make you feel good as a coach.
Yeah, and I think going back to what we were talking about, the only time in the game that I really felt like we were challenged, we kind of went in 21-14. They scored before half, then they got a stop right before half. So you could see that momentum swinging a little bit. They get the ball first the second half, and credit to our defense. They came out and got a stop, got us the ball back, and that was one of the few times all night that we punted the ball, and they got another stop. So, even though we may not have played our best game defensively, when they needed to kind of clamp down and get some stops, they were, until we were able to get going offensively again.
Well, you mentioned the word momentum there, and I'm going to take you back to the postseason last year in Scott County because, this is a storied program. Won the state in 2016. Jim McKee's been there a long time. Very impressive record. They're a perennial state contender. And last year, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you had played them once prior to last year and lost. So you win week 1, you go down to Georgetown to play Scott County. To me, and we have discussed this about how this year you're the hunted, last year you kind of came alive. To me, that was the game. That was the game where people took notice. I remember people telling me, Cooper's going to Scott County. They aren't going to win down there. Then all of a sudden, not only did you win 49-21, impressive, and then from there, kind of things kept rolling. How important was that, and how big is that? I know it's a new year, but you got a lot of the same dudes. How important was that game, and now going into this week with a lot of confidence? You're right, the wing tee, and it's not like they're going to surprise you. You know what they do, and they do it. How important was that win last year for this football program?
Well, we wouldn't be where we were right now if it wasn't for that win. It really catapulted us into last season, the remainder of the season, but really into this season. Kind of going into that game, our kids were starting to believe some, but I don't know if they truly believed how good they could be. And then when we went down there and really kind of controlled the game from the very first snap, we just played with a different type of confidence the rest of the year, and we kind of got that swagger that we were able to carry over to this year, and it's kind of carried throughout the season.
All right, plenty more ahead about Cooper football, but let's take a brief time out here, and we'll welcome up state champion, a state champion in cross country. And I'm a very astute runner and run any chance that I get. So I'm looking forward to getting some more running tips from these guys. The only coach of cross country at Cooper, right, Eric Vanlaningham, who is a state champion himself. Talk about running in the family, kind of like my family. And then his son, Paul, who's a junior who had the fastest time in any class in the state of Kentucky and is the state champion in Class 5A, which is pretty darn impressive. We'll talk to Eric and Paul, and we'll find out about, because I believe Eric's wife, Michelle, is not a one-time, but a two-time state champion.
So do you think if you guys ran a mile together,
yes,
you ran you got
I'm going to stop you right there because I can't run a mile.
You got a 3-lap start. Could he still beat you on the final lap?
So I only have to run 1, and he's got to run 4? No.
Yep. I didn't think so. Me neither.
No. He can't beat me.
Oh, he would beat me.
No, he wouldn't beat me.
I bet he would.
You're saying he could run 4? You could walk, don't you think?
Well, let's try it. Let's go up after this.
Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Well, not tonight.
No, let's go
tonight.
I'm
going to eat and maybe have a beverage. So, but we'll do that sometime. If they'll be willing, we'll do it as a challenge.
Let's do it.
So how about you win state, he's won state, we'll do it. State versus state.
Okay, if we do that, then we get to take Coach Vanlaningham and his boy out and tackle them afterwards. You up for that, Coach?
Well, we got to catch them first, right? And there's no chance in hell we're doing that. All right, we'll talk some state champion cross country next when we continue. It's a Cooper football show right here from the Florence Barleycorns. More, and we got 4 Cooper football players to talk to as well. And we'll welcome up Randy again. 7:30 kickoff, second round, Scott County. And Highlands goes to Woodford County on Friday night. Just a couple of those games. By the way, Scott County beat Connor 47-40 in a defensive struggle on Friday night. So we'll continue momentarily right here from the Florence Barleycorns. All right, welcome back to the Florence Barleycorns, our state champion segment. We're discussing up here if I could do the 1 lap before Paul did the 4. I think I can't. Borchers, no way. Not even disputable. I mean, I'd worry about him going around once, just at any speed. All right, let's welcome up Eric Vanlaningham, the coach of the Jaguars cross-country team, and son Paul, a junior and the state champion, the fastest course record-setting down at the Kentucky Horse Park in Georgetown. So congrats.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool, right? Did you? So let me ask you, you obviously have been running for a while. Do you know when you're going into a race, obviously you're aspiring to win, to finish first. At what point were you that confident going in? At what point during the race did you feel, does it work that way? Is it a feel? Do you kind of go at a certain point in the race, I got this? Do you know when you're running a really good one compared to when you're maybe not running your best?
Yeah, definitely. Just based off feel, really. I knew that I had a chance to win really the whole season. Just I could look at the competition and know there was it was a 5 or 6 guy race, and I needed to beat them on that day. And So I had a race plan going into the race. I had a couple ideas, but the one that I thought was gonna work ended up. I went with that one where I just took the lead like 500 meters into the race.
So let me define for me a race plan. So for somebody who's a runner, what was your plan, and do you have like plan A, plan B, plan C, depending on how the race is going?
Yeah, I have a few different plans depending on if somebody that I didn't expect to takes it out really fast or if it's really slow, because I'm more of a kick from like a farther out point than like the last 300 meters. So I want it to be an honest pace, pretty fast. So if somebody's taking out hard, I'll just sit and just wait.
So it's not dissimilar, like for those who watch the Kentucky Derby, right? I mean, jockeys have to take a look at, who gets out fast, and do you have a horse coming from? Is that kind of the same premise of strategy?
Kind of. I'm obviously not going as fast as them,
sure.
So it's not as like in the moment, but I do have to make kind of split decisions. But it is 5,000 meter race, so I have a lot of time.
So, Eric, let me ask you as a coach, and you obviously were a runner yourself and your wife as well, but how difficult, for somebody who isn't a runner, how do you coach to get to this level, meaning to get your kids to where you've obviously done a fine job with Paul and the other runners? I'll ask you to name all the guys on your team, but do you look at times and obviously you see where they start the season and you set goals of where you want them to be and where they think they can be? How does that process work for those who aren't cross-country runners?
Well, it's kind of difficult the first year that someone joins the team. They kind of have to get used to the training and being consistently running every day. So it takes a season for the coaches to observe all that and see what kind of level of dedication they're going to have. But once they've run for a year or so, we can start to build up and get them to the point where they can contribute on varsity.
So do you have to, and I presume all runners are a little bit different, right, in terms of so some are probably more aggressive strategy-wise, maybe some you have to kind of kick in the rear end. I mean, that's life, right? That's being a coach and having athletes. How challenging is that to kind of have all the different kids and get them trying? Obviously, your goal is to win a state championship as a team, but you want them to do that. You got to have them performing at their individual best.
Yeah, I told the kids before state that it's really, you can be as selfish as you want in this sport, really, because the better you do, the better the team does. And so that knowing you have a team behind you is a little bit more incentive for them, but they can go out and chase first place or top 5, whatever reasonable goal they have will help the team. So, going into different races, we have different strategies for kids. My staff and we talk to them every day, and we go on runs with them every day. So I think the fact that we interact with them a lot, and a lot of it's we're training all season, and really that's what we do all year is just train and get race experience for the end of the season.
Well, let me ask you, obviously you won the state championship in 1990 at Boone County. Your wife, Michelle, won it in 90 and 92. Pretty impressive. Congrats to you guys as well. At what point did you know that this guy here had the pedigree to be a state champion runner? I mean, obviously I know he ran in the Jaguars kind of youth program, but at what was there a defining moment? Is it a race? Was it a time? Was there something where you go, okay, he's going to win a state championship one day?
I mean, I felt from a pretty young age, like maybe 3rd grade, that he had the potential. But when kids grow and develop, you just never know what interests they might get attracted to as they get older. So Michelle and I we're always really careful not to put too much pressure on him as a young child. Put too much training on his legs. Because both of us were runners, we kind of knew that that's a good way to burn somebody out on any sport. So, and then being his coach and his dad can sometimes be a difficult situation, but it's honestly been quite a blessing. We talk a lot in the car, driving to school, driving home, and I think those little things kind of add up over time. So,
well, you could clearly see how happy you were. Some of the photos I saw, the finish line, and so. How cool has it been having parents who are both accomplished runners? I mean, how much has that helped you? And he just mentioned it, your dad, about talking about the running to and from practice and stuff like that. How much has that helped?
It helps a lot. They know the pressure that you feel sometimes, and that was the most nervous I've been for a race that whole week, the build up, and they knew what I was going through, and it's just nice to have them there and talk to about it.
Now, do you think you mentioned nervous the most you'd been? Was that because you knew you had a legitimate shot to win it all?
Yeah, I thought my toughest competitor was a guy that is in our region, and I beat him at regionals, and that put me kind of as the favorite almost, in my head at least, and so that really was like kind of the key moment where I was like, yeah, this could happen now.
Eric, let me ask you I want to make sure you mention all the guys on your team. You finished 6th as a team, which is pretty impressive. You have no seniors, so everybody comes back. Now, I know that's sometimes you mentioned to me earlier, like, don't be too misled because other teams, first and second teams, for instance, have a lot of kids back. But mention all your guys and the contributions that they made to this solid finish of 6th place in the state.
Well, we had a couple guys race the honor run yesterday, and they won the 5K and the 10K.
How about that? Yeah, there you go.
So Ryan Richards won the 5K. He's been running with Paul since they were probably 4th or 5th grade in the Jaguar program. And Grayson Parker, who's one of those kids you made me think about. He started last year, didn't make the varsity team, was very new at the sport, and this year was top 40 in the state, all region, and he's improved quite a bit in just one season. He really has a lot of desire. Aaron Foote and Micah Brandenberry were our other two scorers. Connor Spiker, who finished 2nd yesterday in the 5K.
Scott's son, right? Yeah,
Scott's.
okay.
He lives down the street from us. He was on varsity all year, and then we had two brothers that kind of shared a spot, Kevin and Sean Halleck, whose mom helps us coach too, so she's been a great addition to the staff.
Well, here's the difference. I've known Scott a long time, and he's done an outstanding job with the honor run, and St. Elizabeth Healthcare has done a great job being a sponsor of such a worthwhile event. But I got to tell you, I was supposed to walk, and it was a little, as you can see, it was a little precipitation yesterday morning, and I got up and opened the door and looked out, and as it started to rain harder, I kind of said, well, maybe my wife said, well, would you, if you weren't going to do this walk in this event today, would you walk on your own? And I said, well, no. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So she said, well, you just answered your question. So shame on me, right?
That's kind of where I was yesterday.
You too?
Well, I did run it, and
See,
only
that's
because
the
I've run
difference.
it every year. I'm kind of,
Okay.
if I don't go, I've broken my streak. So I was out there in the wet rain, wanting it to be over as quickly
Miserable.
as possible.
Isn't that all? I mean,
It was kind of fun once we started, but I wanted to just go home when it was over, take a hot shower.
Hey, I can't say I blame you. Well, congratulations to both you guys. I mean, congrats to you for winning. I mean, so where do you go from here? So do you look at a number of other races, like between now and when the next high school season comes around? What are the next goals for you? Because I'm presuming you obviously want to repeat as state champion, but are there other goals in your running career in the next year?
Well, so this week I'm hoping to get a new 2-mile PR on Saturday because we're doing a 2-mile track race down at Bellarmine University.
PR personal record?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully goes sub-9 there, and then the week after that and the next week after that we're going to North Carolina for 2 races, and those are both national qualifier meets. So if I get top 5 at the first one or top 10 at the second one, then I'll make another meet, a national meet that happens in December. And so that's a big goal of mine, is to either make that this year or next year. And I want to repeat as state champion next year and hopefully get a couple track titles too.
So now you, as the coach of this team, what's your message in the off season here? I know they still run in other events, but what's your message leading up to next year, and how do you get them stoked to try and take that number 6 and move it up a little bit?
I think that they believe that we can do it. They've been with me for a few years. Last year we did really well. We were state runner-ups, and just having a great track season, getting really fast at the mile, and then having a good summer of base training. I know I've got the kids that want it bad enough. They just got to believe, and they got to stay healthy. Those are the big keys. We don't have a big program, so if one runner goes down or something bad happens, it's hard to recover from that. So that's the big goal. Is I've always wanted to have a state championship program, and I think we've done a pretty good job of being competitive on that level.
I would say so. Well, congratulations to both you guys, and it's a big deal, man. I mean, to my knowledge, you're the first boys state champion individual in the history of Cooper High School. So that's pretty
correct.
Impressive. How about a big round of applause for state champion Paul Vanlaningham, his coach Eric. Guys, thanks for coming out tonight, and enjoy yourself, and hopefully we'll have you back up here next year talking about a team state champion and you defending your title.
Well, we got to get you out for that race, too.
We're up for it. Borchers has no chance, but we'll do it.
We'll make sure we have the AED out there for you guys.
There's an uplifting thought. Yeah, I mean, there's a little there's motivation you're on. We'll do it. So thanks again, guys. Congrats. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Eric, thank you. Paul, thanks, man. Two champs right there. Eric Vanlaningham's son, Paul, and don't forget White Michelle, two-time. So you got to get the mom, right? She won it twice. You try to win it twice. All right, sounds good. All right, thanks, guys. When we come back, I'll talk to Cam O'Hara and Isaiah Johnson, two of the offensive guys, and then we'll take a break and talk some defense. When we continue, the Cooper Football Show, don't forget tonight's a dime to donate, too. So 10% of everything goes back to Cooper High School from 5 to 11 tonight, right here at the Florence Barleycorn. All right, welcome back to the Florence Barleycorns. We roll along on another edition of the Cooper Football Show. Jaguars coach Randy Borchers and others, the guys who are making it happen on the football field. Cooper, again, 11-0 for the first time in school history. 56-28 winners over South Oldham. They host Scott County on Friday night. Kickoff is 7:30 this week. So welcome Cam O'Hara, the quarterback of the Jaguars, and his favorite receiver. That doesn't mean he discriminates against others, but Isaiah Johnson. I mean, they are the most prolific quarterback receiving duo in the history of Northern Kentucky high school football. Did you know that? Were you aware of that?
Is that confirmed?
Oh, it is confirmed. Well, I mean, it's who's going to dispute it?
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody in here tonight. No, it is confirmed.
You're right. I wasn't
do you care about? Is that something you care about?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, seem excited. Don't seem as excited as you are.
I'm excited.
What about you?
I mean, yeah, that's great, I guess.
Boy, this is going to be a thrilling interview here. I can see it already. Now, let me take you guys back to last year. You go on the road to play at Scott County, and I mean that you only played them once before. I know Randy talked earlier that was kind of the win that really set the path for you guys to make the postseason run. Did you feel that way last year in that game?
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely tell it gave us a momentum switch throughout the playoffs. So yeah, it was definitely a big key to our playoff run.
What about you? I mean, is that one of those where and not that you won, but you won 49-21. Did that give you guys a lot of confidence?
I feel like it did because the year before that they kind of beat us up pretty bad. So I feel like once we got them out the way, we were really confident what we were doing.
Now, be honest with me on this next question. So you kick off the playoffs Friday night, but it'd been a while, right? You had the week off prior. You had a bye. The three previous games you had running clock, two of them in the second quarter. I know you got out 14-0, but did you like the challenge? I mean, 4 times they were down 7. I know you'd love to blow people out, but that's unrealistic. But I mean, how good was it going into the playoffs to have a game like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we could have scored every single drive. We had a couple of penalties that stopped us, but having that game where we really compete, cause it's gonna be like that all throughout playoffs. So every single team we play is gonna be good. So it's gonna be like that all throughout playoffs. So yeah.
Talk about this offense. I mean, you look at the time of possession dominated by South Oldham, but that wasn't because they really kept you off the field. It's you scored so quickly. The big play capability of this offense, and you're a big part of that. I mean, you had, 4 catches, 127 yards, a couple touchdowns again. Jaden caught 2 passes for $140. Keegan with 4 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 3 rushing. How much fun, and I realize maybe it doesn't seem like fun because you're trying to win. But how enjoyable is it to know that on every play you legitimately have a big play chance and a chance to score?
I just feel like it's great because the defense kind of can't like revolve around one guy, and like anyone can kind of eat, like all at the same time. Like if they take the pass away, like Keegan will go crazy, and if they load the box, and the receivers will go crazy.
So let me ask you. I mean, you mentioned you got yourself, you got Jaden, you got Austin, you've got Malachi, you've got Keegan, you got a lot of guys, and I know there's all you got to do is turn on the TV on Sunday and see upset receivers and things of that nature. Now, they're not 11-0, but there are circumstances where guys don't get the ball enough. How have you guys as a group managed to not be selfish, to be okay with other people contributing?
I just feel like we all have love for each other. So when somebody does good, like we're always proud of them for doing good. So I feel like it's a great connection between us.
And you got to be the recipient of this. I mean, it's rarely. Sometimes quarterbacks have a guy like a connection with one of the receivers, but how nice is it when you drop back to know they talk about check downs and progressions and reads? How awesome is it for you to be able to look out there and on any given play you got 2 to 4 options?
Yeah, someone's always going to be open, so no matter what I do, I'm going to hear it from at least one of them. You know what I mean? So no matter if I throw a touchdown to Isaiah, somebody's going to be open. So it's funny at the same time, but everybody's open, so it helps me a lot.
So do you get a little of that in the huddle? Like, do you have the type of relationship where guys will come back and go, hey, man, I'm open. Like, you got to get me the ball. Does that happen a lot?
I say it's not more of like a get me the ball. I think it's just they're just telling me they're open, and obviously everybody's open at one time, so yeah.
Now, I can't remember what play it was after, but did you hear? I know the defensive coordinator, Jeff Collins of North Carolina, was on your sideline. Did you hear what he called you the one time you came off the field? What he referenced you as?
Joe Burrow?
You heard that, yeah.
I heard that.
He did. He called you Joe Burrow, that's got to make you feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So let me ask you about one other aspect of your game, and that is you seem to be a little bit more comfortable running the football when necessary. You've scored some touchdowns, but you've also picked up some key first downs. Is that something that you've really tried to get as more of a part of your game?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's kind of a joke between me and Coach Borchers. He says it's always nice to have a dual threat running quarterback. And looking back to last year, I wasn't that much of a running quarterback. So, and if a team's going to drop back, there's always going to be a free lane I can run. So, yeah.
So let's talk about Friday night, Scott County. What's the mood of the team? What's this is a team you beat 49-21 last year. They run the wing tee, which if you're Scott County, you're trying to keep the ball, win time of possession. The best defense for Scott County is probably their offense, keeping you guys off the field. Mm-hmm. But how critical is it going to be knowing that you're facing a team that runs it, chews up some clock, that when you get the ball, you make the most of it?
Well, Scott County is a pretty tough team to prepare for. But I feel like if we just stop them on defense a couple times and get up, it's going to force them to pass the ball a little bit, and then they're not going to be able to run the clock off as much, and they're going to have to do stuff that they don't want to do.
This is for both of you guys, a final question, I know. And by the way, you've got 106. Make sure I get all this right. I don't want to miss some of this. You're now over 3,000 yards receiving, which is pretty incredible. The only other guy to do that is Dante Hendricks in Northern Kentucky history, another Cooper guy. You've set the all-time scoring record. You're now at 106 career touchdown passes. Only Clay Hayden of Beechwood, who's still playing too. He's got 109. You've got 106, but he's a senior, so you have a whole other year. So, folks, you're looking at probably the two most prolific quarterback receivers in Northern Kentucky high school football history by the time it's all said and done. I know winning a state championship and team goals are much greater. But do you ever think about what you guys have accomplished? Do you ever just look at the stat sheet and look at the distance of the touchdown passes? You completed 12 passes Friday for 316 yards. Yeah. You ever kind of go, man, this is fun, this is pretty cool?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We always talk about it, me and him, just trying to he always wants to break a record, so but it's more like you said, the team aspect, always trying to win the state championship, so yeah.
So you got to think about this. He's thrown 38 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think that's a ratio any coach would take. He has more than 50% of his receptions are touchdowns. Now, that's some winning football. So you guys, congrats to what you've done so far, and try to hold back the excitement as you get ready for Friday night in Scott County. Will you for me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You ready to get the hell out of here tonight? You got what do you got? What's on the agenda tonight?
Nothing. I'm just
Nothing?
chilling. Yeah, just chilling.
Okay. I'm just giving you a hard time.
yeah,
don't you? All
yeah.
right, it's all good. All right. Big round of applause for two guys who are having a hell of a year. Cam O'Hara, Isaiah Johnson. All right, guys, there's the offense. Now you got to have defense to win, so we'll talk to Austin Alexander and Issac Brown momentarily when the Cooper Football Show continues from the Florence Barleycorns. All right, welcome back to Florence Barleycorns. We'll talk some Cooper defense, which ultimately I think is going to determine whether or not the Jaguars win it. He's nodding his head, so he actually agrees with me. Austin Alexander, Issac Brown. Now, Austin, I'm going to start with you first because you missed a couple games, and I know you had probably something you didn't anticipate, right? A strange elbow-type injury. How difficult was it? Not being, even though it's regular season, you guys had already wrapped up some stuff. How difficult was it not being able to play?
It was tough seeing my guys out there, and just wanting to hit and wanting to, be with them. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's a part of God's plan. So I just did what I could for them, watching film, trying to help out our defensive ends that are in there, helping out, our receivers are, already locked and loaded. We're like 8 deep with, all-stars. So, that wasn't a problem. But just doing what I can for the team, I just wanted to help out however I could.
Well, and I'd be remiss. I understand you gave a rather impassioned speech, right? Was that pregame or halftime before the Dixie game?
It was just throughout both the Boone and the
Gotcha.
Dixie game, just kind of just being there. I'm full of energy, and if I'm not gonna get it out hitting people, then I'm gonna let the guys know how I'm feeling. So that's what I did, and hopefully it helped a little bit. We went out there and did what we did, but yeah, I just love being there for the guys, and my passion for this team, shows on and off the field.
All right, Issac, before we talk football, how about Homecoming King, right? You haven't been up here since you were named Homecoming King.
That's amazing. I love
So
it.
what would be better, what would mean more, being named Homecoming King or being a state championship football player?
Oh, state championship.
State championship?
100%. Yeah, state
Okay.
championship.
Now, did you lobby? I mean, it was election season, right?
Yeah.
Did you go around and no, you didn't
He
work?
went class to class.
He did?
Yeah.
So he's not telling me the truth
He
here?
went class to
lying.
class, had his name up all over the school. You know
lying.
how it is.
Okay.
Line.
So how good did it feel, the 60-yard interception return, to kind of put a stamp on things on Friday night?
That felt amazing because most of you guys that watched the game, you guys could tell they were kind of chippy and dirty. And that drive, they're just talking. Whole game, they're talking. And right before that play, they're talking to me, and I picked it off and took it to the house. So that was kind of just like, that feels amazing. That's like the textbook play as a DB. Like, I jumped the route and took it all the way to the house. So that's something that's amazing, and that's like a memory that I'm gonna always have. Like, that was crazy.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, you're coming back, and you had a big game. You had 2 sacks, 9 tackles, combined total tackles, and you caught a couple passes. How good did it feel to get and be a part of that? And did you feel like, because they were pretty big, right? They were pretty big up front. How good was it for this football team to have a challenge like they presented? Because you're 10-0 going into that first week. You typically don't play a 7-3 team. So how good was that to kind of get a full football game back for you guys?
Yeah, to be honest, they're one of the better teams that we've played this year, and them being upset by Collins right before the end of the regular season, it just set it up to where we'd play them first round. And some teams can look at it and be mad and upset that they don't have a cakewalk to the Final Four, whatever it would be. But, we looked at it as, we want something that's difficult, so we're going to go ahead and get it no matter who's there. So playing a team like that who's big and runs the offense that's, pretty complex, we were up for the challenge, and it was great for us to be weathered and continue to move on in the playoffs.
So when you look at this defense, and you guys have watched film and seen some of the special teams and defense, what do you have to do to get better? Because a win isn't good enough. I know everything's evaluated as, are we a state championship team? Was that a state championship caliber win? In what areas do you have to get better at week to week? And there's only 4 weeks left. So what do you have to improve on to be there when you want to be?
I would say 2 things. Obviously, the obvious thing is tackling. There was a couple plays where we forced the kids to go behind the line of scrimmage, and kids kind of just were running, and we needed a big stop, and we just missed the tackle. And I mean, that's kind of the textbook answer, so we're working on that. And the other thing is just capitalizing. There was a 50-50 ball that they threw up that we should have intercepted. They converted on a third or fourth down. It was one or the other. And we got to capitalize on that. We forced 2 fumbles that we couldn't capitalize. So those turnovers are big. I mean, if we get those, we finish with 4 turnovers. We had an interception, and we didn't get one, and then we had 2 fumbles. So we got to capitalize when they give the ball to us on freebies like that. But that's all right now.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, was that pass interference?
No, not at all.
It didn't look like it, but I mean, so you didn't feel. I mean, it was.
No, that was a really bad call.
It looked like it to me, but.
So let me ask you about the Scott County game last year. You had a huge game, 3 touchdown reception. I think a $155 in receiving yards, and played well on defense. Do you agree that last year this was kind of a game and a win that really kind of was the catalyst to this football? I mean, you guys have only lost 1 game since then, and that was in the state final. How big was that game? And do you take anything away from the game last year to going into Friday night playing the same team?
Yeah, it was a huge game. To be honest, none of us really knew what winning looked like. And that wasn't really in our in our mindset at that moment. I don't know if most of us really even knew what going to the state championship looked like before that game. But going in, even having even with that said, we knew we could get the job done. But after that, and seeing the energy that everyone brought top to bottom, it let us know like we could really do something with this, and that kind of propelled us onto the run, and then into the confidence that we have this year. Looking to get back. But it was a huge game, and one that let us know that we're just not just some random team in Northern Kentucky, and that we're a team that can make runs.
Final question for you: how cool was it to see the defensive coordinator for North Carolina there Friday night? It looked like he wanted to even get engaged, right? I mean, a lot of guys just kind of hang off to the side, but he was number one. He was freezing his tail end off. I mean, he looked like, and I don't know whether he was wearing a kind of cool Carolina blue, right? Had the blue shoes, but he clearly did not dress properly. Did he kind of echo that sentiment to you?
Yeah, he was very cold, but it was cool to see him there. But then not only just for me, because we're locked in. He's a cool guy, but seeing the guys get hyped up, and that's something some of these dudes haven't really experienced, and being able to provide that to the guys and seeing them get hyped and talk about it was really cool for me, and really fun. And hopefully they can come out and visit me and come meet with me and the coach anyway, and just kick it.
Isaac, a final question for you. Friday night, looking ahead, defensively, what's it going to take? I mean, how difficult, you hear people talk about the wing tee, not something you see all the time, and at any level you hear coaches say how difficult it is to prepare for. What makes it difficult? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult.
So what makes it difficult?
You just got to play assignment football. In high school, kids are just used to being, I'm a better athlete than you, so I'm going to make this tackle. But, this game you have to watch, there's certain keys for every single play, and you have to watch those certain keys. So, if you just for 1 second slip up, they're going to run right beside you. If you for 1 second look right here, they're going to run that way. So, it's really it's hard to prepare for, but we take pride in preparing, and we're going to be ready. So we watch a lot of film, and we'll be ready. So. And
how important is it in practice this week that other guys on your team simulate? Mm-hmm. Because I know that's difficult too. Yeah. They're not used to the wing tee. Yeah. Do you have a group of guys who it'll be their assignment this week to simulate the wing tee?
Yeah, we do. Our scout team, we've really been preaching to them on how hard you have to go. Also, Coach Billy Prickett right there, he's playing QB for the scout team. He's been helping us out a lot.
Our scout team quarterback is just incredible. He's stretching beforehand. He's
running the wing tee?
Yeah, he's doing it.
He's actually a Cooper alumni, Mr. Billy Prickett here. Just doing what he needs to do. Also, our running backs and just our offensive line learning it quickly. Even though they really get yelled at just as much as the varsity to get it together, but they're doing it, and they've already done a great job, and they're gonna get us prepared for Friday.
Yep.
All right, guys, appreciate your time as always. Good to see you again. Hopefully we'll see you up here again. Austin Alexander, Issac Brown, 2 members of the Cooper undefeated defense. Thanks, guys. And final words from Coach Randy Borchers when we continue the Cooper football show here from the Florence Barleycorns. Reminder, dine to donate between now and 11, 10% goes back from Barleycorns to Cooper High School. All right, a final segment here of the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers, and we talk about Scott County, the opponent Friday night, second round of the KHSAA State Football Tournament. 7:30 kickoff. The Cardinals come in after winning 47-40 against Connor. And we talk about the wing T, which they run and run it well. And obviously, it is funny how football has gone from kind of, more of a running game to spread the field and everybody trying to go up tempo and all that. It is funny that dudes who run the wing T, man, they won't relent, will they? I mean, there's no – what is it about for you as the opposing coach and the defense? What makes it, other than the fact that you don't see it? Well, you haven't seen it at all this year, have you? So what is it besides that makes it so difficult to stop?
Well, a couple things with them. First off, it's the eye candy. I mean, there's so many different motions and so many different fakes. And the good wing T teams, and Scott County's really good at it. The quarterback does a tremendous job of hiding the ball, so you really never know where the ball is, and you got a bunch of misdirections. So if you're reading the quarterback or you're reading the backfield, you're in trouble because you're going to go to the wrong place. And most of the guys that run the wing T, and Coach McKee's probably one of the best around with it, is they understand it. So they know how to make the adjustments. They don't run a lot of plays. I mean, I think Scott County predominantly runs somewhere between 8 and 7 and 9 plays. So they're just really good at what they do, and they always have an answer for what you have. So if you try to overload something or you try to out scheme them, you're really in trouble. The biggest thing is you just got to come out, train your eyes and read your keys and not fall asleep.
It's kind of funny. I know at the college level, Army and Navy are both having outstanding years, and they run that similar. And I know Navy's thrown it a little more, Army is too, but nonetheless, they run. It's funny when you mention 7 and 9 plays, you would think that you'd be able to game plan to stop 7 and 9, but when they do it so well, so now knowing that they're going to try to sustain drives and keep your offense, how critical then does it become that you take, whenever you do get the football, that you make the most of your possessions?
Yeah, and I think that, as an offense coordinator, that's kind of one of the things that stress you out because you get down 14-0 on a team like that, you're in trouble. So you got to kind of stay in front of it, score early, get up a little bit. You got to make the most out of every possession. And somewhere along the line, and one of the things that really helped us last year, we were able to create some turnovers. So that's a big part of it. They don't do a whole lot of things to stop themselves, so you got to take advantage if they make a mistake.
Final question. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. You received a sideline warning Friday night on it, if I'm not mistaken, and it was on the 94-yard touchdown pass from Cam O'Hara to Jaden Combs. And when I saw the flag, I thought, man, that sucks, right? They had a 94-yarder, and it's going to be called back. And then obviously they just issued the sideline warning. What occurred there on the sideline? Because, you were warned for something, right?
It was not me. I will tell you that. It was one of our lovely assistants, Paul Westhoff. So it's a good thing he's retiring this year because otherwise he was going to be fired after getting something like that. But
what did he do?
He was
exuberant, excited? I mean,
he was literally just watching the play, and the official ran by, and they said he was out of the coach's box, so they flagged him.
Really?
So.
Okay. All right. So now, and maybe I will ask one more. Officials are assigned, they come as crews, right? And they come from different parts of the state. You can't be am I right? You can't be a Northern
Correct.
Kentucky crew and officiate a game that involves a Northern Kentucky team.
Correct.
So which I guess as a coach, I mean, an official shouldn't determine the outcome of games, and 99.9% they don't. But it is different, right? Because at least you're accustomed to, there was a crew in Cincinnati, you knew they were going to throw 3 flags a game, and that's what you got. Or others threw too many. So do you kind of look at the crew and go, oh boy, early on?
And I think one of the things, that first round, there's a ton of games going on, so they're using almost every official. And I think some of these officials, these assigners throughout the state really don't understand what the good games are going to be. So they see a 1-4 seed, and they're like, oh, that's going to be a blowout. So you don't always get the best crew. And then the other thing is, and I've said this for years, a lot of people up in this area are on our officials quite a bit, but when you look throughout the state, we got some really good officials next to other parts in the state. So
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, so right? when you start playing, getting officials, they call it different. Last year we played Scott County. We got a officiating crew, I think, out of Eastern Kentucky, and, they were locked in on knee pads being too high, and multiple kids got taken out, and, no one questioned it all year. So, you got to change your game. And the other big thing is, like, with the sideline warning is, up here, a lot of the officials, so you have a relationship with them. Yeah. When you get officials from Louisville or Lexington or anywhere else, you try to talk to them. Those guys don't give two craps about you. So, they're really not going to listen. They're quick to throw a flag because they want to do the game and get out, and they really don't have a relationship with you to begin with.
All right, so one down, another one to go Friday night. Scott County at Cooper, 7:30 is your kickoff. So we'll see, right? Wing T versus the prolific, high-flying Cooper offense that put up 56 points last week. So we'll see. Special teams, I'll be there with my notebook evaluating on Friday night to make sure things are shored up. But best of luck to you and everybody. I want to thank all our special guests tonight, Cam O'Hara, Isaiah Johnson, Austin Alexander, and Issac Brown, and state champion, first boys individual state champ in Cooper history, Paul Vanlaningham, and his dad, coach of the Jaguars cross-country team, Eric Vanlaningham. I want to thank them for being here tonight, and all of you for showing up tonight. Hope to see you back here next week, next Monday, when we talk about Cooper's win over Scott County, hopefully. Wishful thinking, right? Confidence, as they say. And have a great night. Don't forget, Dine to Donate, 5 to 11. We got a couple giveaways, so don't go anywhere. But thanks to everybody for coming out tonight for another edition of the Cooper Football Show right here from the Florence Barleycorn.